Yee-hah! This week we got roided out killer cowboys slaughtering seniors at a rodeo. We watched Lasso. We watched it so you don't have to. So you know what time it is.
Horror, so bad it's scary. Splitting up is never okay. Plot, who needs it? Don't turn on the lights. Cars don't ever start, but that's alright. Running upstairs instead of out the door. Good acting, what do we need that for? Horrible horror, so bad it's scary. Enjoy the show, but not really.
Yee-hah, Moongoons! Welcome to Horrible Horror, the podcast where we watch the worst of the worst in horror movies. Movies so bad they're scary. I'm your host, Mr. Marshall Hampton. With me today, once again, joining me this week is I Want the Poo Water, Sarah Samples!
Yee-haw! Howdy, Marshall. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right, but let me put a little insert here in real quick because it's your introduction. I have to have it.
Damn. I wanted the poo water.
Yep, the Poo Water clip is going to be played every time you're on the show now.
I will be forever known as the poo water.
You will be.
I meant it then. I mean it now. It's all good.
So this week, before we get into this week's movie, let's see. A few more things I want to get out there. This will probably be the last time I mention it, but it is officially out now. Camp Death 3 in 2D. I always get numbers confused.
That's confusing.
It is. That's out now on Amazon. You can go watch it on Amazon Prime. Check it out. It's a little comedy, horror comedy spoof. It is what it is. Check it out. We try to help promote the movie a bit. With that said, you can always check us out on Instagram, Twitter at So Bad It's Scary, Facebook, and then you can download this to our shows on iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, Speaker.com, our website, horriblehorrorpodcast.com, and I might be missing one other, but it's been a long time since I've done this. So
pretty much nobody has an excuse not to listen to you guys because you're everywhere.
We really are everywhere.
I mean, you can listen on any kind of device.
And it's all free.
Guys,
so no
stop
excuses.
making excuses. Stop it.
Speaking of Facebook, if you follow us on Facebook, we also, that is where you always catch up on what future movies we'll be doing. I always announce the movies a few days ahead of time before we record the episode. So if you want to watch them ahead of time and keep up with us, feel free, always be informed of what movie we got coming up or coming down the pipe.
You should also listen and then go to Facebook and give us some kind of a review.
Yeah.
Tell us, are we awesome? Do we suck? Because if you tell us we'll suck, I mean, we're going to, start a Facebook war with you. But, I mean, whatever. Just give us some feedback.
Yeah, speaking of feedback, go to iTunes. Drop a little 5-star review.
iTunes would be a great time.
That'd be great. All the reviews help us out. Yeah. That's awesome. Also, now there's a limited sale. If you want to get yourself a Horrible Horror t-shirt, you can get it on our website. On the merch page, we actually are doing a sale, so we knocked down the price. You can give her $14.99 now. A little special sale for
awesome.
So yeah, $14.99. Pick yourself up a Horrible Horror t-shirt. We have men's and women's cuts. Very few women's cuts, but we do have a few women's sizes available.
Get them, ladies. Get them.
With that said, I don't think there's anything. Oh, I know one last thing. Next week is the final. I think we'll be doing our final movie before we start this year's Horrible Horror March movie bracket tournament of awfulness. That will be starting. I always
Good job on that.
I know it takes so much focus and concentration to get through that name.
That's a hard title.
Yeah, we'll be getting that. That's gonna be starting this year. So keep an eye out for that. That's where we let all you wonderful Moongoons and listeners out there vote. Help us pick what was the worst movie of our last, basically quote unquote season. I think the last three winners were Alice in Murderland,
movie,
Lake Fear 2, and then what was shit? I just looked it up too, and I can't remember what it was.
I remember what the best movie was last
year. Yeah, I remember the best. I know
it
was not. I picked one of the Krampus movies, and it turned out to be the other one.
Santa Claus?
No. It was a bigger name movie. I wish I could remember what the hell it was.
Hey, go back and be creepy trolls on Instagram and check us out, and then you'll know.
Yeah.
You'll know, because it's all on Instagram. I love how you guys post all of that stuff on Instagram so that we can vote. It's really fun.
Yeah, thanks for thinking of that. Voting is done on Instagram. We will post each matchup Probably one or maybe two a day for the first round because help get through it faster. But you just vote for which one you think is worse on our Instagram page, and then we cycle through it, and we'll announce the winners on the following episode. And all the way down until we get our champion, the creme of the creme, worst of the worst this year. All right, so let's move on. Let's saddle up. Let's get our get the saddles out, bring out the bits and the saddle blankets. The bits. We're gonna wrangle up this movie called Lasso. This movie is actually fairly new. It was released on November 13th of 2018. Written by Roberto Marianis.
I think that's pretty close.
Okay. And directed by Evan Cecil. Now, Evan Cecil, this is his first... He's got 18 directing credits, but this is his first full-length feature movie.
Really?
All of his other previous work were basically TV shows of like various like true crime shows, like the stuff you see on like Discovery ID. Stuff like... was like Love Kills, Sex Sent Me to the Slammer, Wives with Knives, Campus Nightmares, I Almost Got Away with It, My Strange Criminal Addiction, etc. All those types of movies or TV shows. But he also has credits working on various staff roles on the movies AI, Bicentennial Man, and What Dreams May Come. Are some of the bigger movies he's worked on, but he wasn't a director. The cast, there's a few people we'll mention. First and foremost, one of our main characters is played by Enos. He's played by Sean Patrick Flannery. Only thing I need to say about him is he's one half of the Boondock Saints.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know about this guy. I mean, if you don't know the Boondock Saints, what rock have you been living under?
Look it up.
Him and Norman Reedus, Boondock Saints Forever. That's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, what the fuck's wrong with you? Go watch it. Mm-hmm. Then we have Simon. I like to refer to as Bitch Boy, played by.
Oh my god, we're gonna talk about poor Simon.
Yeah, we are.
Poor Simon.
He's played by Andrew Jacobs. He was he did another horror movie, but he was in one of the Paranormal Activity sequels, the marked ones. I never saw that one.
I never saw
I kind of
it
gave
either.
up on that franchise after like the second, third one or whatever.
Yeah.
Our main girl, Kit, is played by Lindsay Morgan. She's got 24 credits, including a spot on How I Met Your Mother. And she was on 66 episodes of General Hospital. And she currently stars on the CW show The 100, which I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. But she's starring on that show.
I feel like a lot of people that we highlight on this show do a lot of like daytime soaps.
It is surprising how many people do soaps on these
especially
movies.
Like the newer movies that you guys do all the time. It's a lot of soap opera.
There are a lot of
actors.
soap opera actors crossing over into this.
It's not bad. Very dramatic.
And lastly, we have our character Lillian, played by Karen Grassley. But Sarah, you wanted to talk about her.
Okay, so I'm not. I don't want to reveal too much, but I was born in the early '80s. Little House on the Prairie.
Yes.
Was like, I don't know. Do y'all remember Little House on the Prairie?
I remember Little House on the Prairie.
Man, they still play it. They play it on Cozy TV, and I have to admit that Chris Samples and I watch it a lot. Busting you out, Chris Samples.
Yeah, I would not have guessed Chris to be a prairie head.
It takes us back to a simpler time, Marshall.
Or maybe a prairie hound. Ooh,
a prairie hound.
Prairie dog?
I mean, when I did not realize this at first. Like, I watched it without doing the research. But then when I realized that was her. Like, that was the mom. She was a badass on that show. It makes a lot of sense in this movie.
It does.
I don't know.
It just dawned on me just now. Think about this. This is the second time we've had a cast member from Little House on the Prairie in one of the movies. I don't remember the movie. I don't remember the girl's name, but she was one of the daughters, like the youngest daughter on the show. She was in one of the movies we did.
Carrie was the youngest daughter.
Yeah.
Although I think they had more children later on.
I don't know. She was. All I know is we had one of the daughters on that show was in one of the movies we did a while back. So this is our second House on the Prairie now connection.
It was a very ahead of its time show. I'm telling you, go back and watch it. If you're gonna watch this, well, maybe not.
All right, let's wrangle up, saddle up, and
I can't wait.
Regulators mount up.
Regulators.
I love that song. That song still so good. It holds up today. All right, so the movie, we open with this random girl waking up bloody on the floor, tied up to a radiator. So as she's looking around the room, the camera zooms in and kind of shows us this bottle of horse tranquilizers on a shelf, and she starts struggling to free herself, and she's able to knock over this old like tin can off his shelf, and she starts using the jagged edge of the can lid to like start cutting the ropes they're binding her, which not just fine, smart idea, but I would think that she would probably end up giving herself like a Joker smile, because that would just, I can't imagine that would just cut her lips apart.
I totally had this thought too, and I was trying to like think what you would say about this, and I knew that you would say that. But honestly, if I woke up tied to a radiator after God knows what happened to her, I think I don't risk the Joker smile. I'm not saying it's not the right thing to do. I'm just like, she probably wouldn't be able to cut through binds that thick anyway. It was
no, because I don't think you'd be able to bite down that thing with enough force to hold it in place strong enough to actually get any like cutting force with it. It
kind of reminded me a little bit of like a Grindhouse movie type opening. I don't know, just because of the way that the music starts there. I'm going to say this later, but there wasn't a lot of music in this movie.
There really is not. It's surprisingly little.
The music it was more so like kind of like CSI music, which is not really music. It's just like
music stings.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is kind of where it's like a little bit of music starts, and I don't know. I kind of liked it. I liked it. She's escaping.
Yeah, she's escaping. It's not a bad opening.
Something's happening.
So we roll the title card and we cut to a shuttle bus filled with seniors arriving at the Hackett Rodeo.
Right.
Now, for you guys, when you hear a bus full of seniors, you're probably thinking high school seniors, right? College seniors. That would make sense.
No.
You'd be wrong here, guys. This bus belongs to Encore Activities, Adventures for Active Senior Citizens. So we have a bus of senior citizens going out for like a group that gets out.
It's a day trip. Okay,
Yeah.
Marshall, I don't know that you know this. Okay, so I feel like just the universe aligns us sometimes, but this is part of what I do in my actual job.
Is it really?
Yes. So I work at a place that sells tickets to concerts. I work at the Sheldon. I'm going to totally plug it. Yeah, I work at the Sheldon. Why not? So I work at the Sheldon, and I am the group sales coordinator. So I work with women like Kit, who we're about to meet, who organize group trips, and they bring their senior citizens in groups, and they have to organize them, and they have to kind of put them on a bus, and they drive them down. So when I like everything that this girl went through, I was like, this is me. Like I could totally put myself in her shoes, because this is kind of what I do.
I never thought about. I knew you were like the event sales person or whatever, but I never made the connection. This is what you would be doing.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. So yeah, so it's a senior day trip, and all of the stereotypical personalities are there.
Yeah. So
yeah,
and we actually just mentioned we have our Kit, who is our female lead. She is not a senior. She's like a college age girl who's just working there, and she's leading the tour. She's in charge of all this. So she works for the Encore Activities Company, I guess.
Responsibility.
And we also meet Simon, who's like the new hireling who doesn't really seem to want to be there, but he's there for like a summer job or whatever. We don't really know what time of year this is, but you just assume
he's a student, and not to judge him, but he has some neck tattoos that are just that was just a poor choice.
Yeah, it's weird. Like you have this guy with a neck tattoo, but it turns out to be like the biggest pussy in the movie.
He's terrible.
Like, how do you have a guy with a neck tattoo be a pussy? Like, that's like something like you don't. People with neck tattoos should not be portrayed as pussy.
He's a douche.
He's awful. He's so So anyway, the group gets approached by these two, a guy and a girl. They're both animal rights activists, asking to like, hey, sign a petition against the rodeo or whatever.
Animal cruelty.
The activists get chased off by Pomeroy Hackett, the owner of the rodeo. He's like, get out of here, guys. You're not supposed to be here. Hackett introduces himself to the group, welcomes them to the rodeo, and he's like, hey, I saw you guys coming. Here's your tickets you had, ready for you. Here you go. Enjoy the show. So
do you notice that like one lady cannot stop vaping?
Yeah.
There's one lady that just like loves to vape. That's just what I thought.
I kind of love that too.
I
like thinking that's actually, it's not just like a vape, but it's like I know it's a regular vape, but I love to think it's like one of those like a weed vaporizer pen. She's just getting high the whole time.
She has cataracts and stuff. Don't.
So the next several scenes, we just watch and follow the seniors as they wander around and enjoy the rodeo / carnival fairground thing that's going on. So we do get a moment of tension when one of the seniors, this black guy wearing like a reverse like K-gel hat, which is like the stuff that Samuel Jackson used to always wear.
He's dating the lady that vapes.
Yes, he's dating the vapor lady. He learned later his name's Jacques, but at this point I didn't know. But when I was writing my notes, but his name's Jacques. He wins the that old test your strength game with the
hammer.
slam the hammer, ring the bell at the top.
Yeah.
He wins that. And he teases Simon into trying his luck. Hey, come on, you young guy, try your luck. So Simon's like, whatever. He tries it. He loses. He doesn't ring the bell. And he gets punked out by the cowboy carny that's running the game.
This guy is beefed up, though.
Dude,
he's
pretty jacked.
He's jacked up.
So Cowboy Carney, I just call him Cowboy Carney from here on out.
Awesome. Okay.
He starts showing for he's like flexing his pecs muscles at
yeah.
Kit, like what's up? And then he takes them out in one
all
hand.
The ladies fall for that.
Yeah. He takes a giant hammer and with one hand swings it down, rings the bell easily one-handed, showing off.
Yep.
Simon calls Cowboy Carney a muscle fucker underneath
Is that what he said?
Yeah, he goes,
I couldn't tell what
fucker.
he said no matter what. It was like something fucker.
Subtitles. Always have these watch these subtitles, man. It's become like a staple now. Like I have to watch these subtitles on so I get what people are saying.
Some of those subtitles are hilarious.
They are, especially like I don't know if you remember. God, where was it? There was one. I don't know if it was Blood Freak or Blood Beat, or there was one we Aaron and I did not go, but his subtitles were on and it just said mystical boing sound. It's mystical boing. And it's kind of funny. But some of these have bad the sound on these are awful. So it's like I have to watch them with subtitles.
You have to watch them.
So anyway,
we missed that Simon. Simon, when they walk in, he does make the comment, "Oh, I can't get cell service up here."
Yeah, well, they say that again later too.
Yeah, exactly. But they make it a point to say something about that, and Kit's like, "I know this is just a summer job to you, but you need to get it together.
Yeah, act like you care."
Out. Yeah.
Simon calls Carney a muscle fucker. Carney hears him and he like gets up in Simon's face, like, "What'd you say?" You know, like he's ready to beat Simon down, like just proper beat down. But Jacques, the black senior, is the guy who actually comes in and like breaks it up. Because again, Simon's a pussy and he takes he needs a 70-year-old man to break up his fight for him.
He looks so butthurt.
He
like
does.
Throughout this whole movie, he has just this look on his face, like, ooh,
like he's gonna cry.
pouty,
Yeah, like just this pouty little bitch boy. And Jacques like, dude, this wouldn't even be a fight. He's like, Simon's like, he's insulting Simon. He's like, he's such a pussy. He's not worth your time, dude.
Don't even do it.
So Cowboy Carney like eyes Simon down the stink eye as Simon and the group leave. They go off to some other area of the carnival or whatever. So the rodeo starts up and proper. The group sits down in the bleachers to watch. Lillian, who's one of our main, like kind of the main senior citizen here, she decides to go sit closer to the action and she leaves the group. And Kit sends Simon down to go sit with her, so she's supervised, which is kind of weird. Like I get that they're, that they need to kind of stay together in a group, but one, it's not like they're in like a giant like baseball stadium with hundreds of thousands of people or whatever. They're just like in a local small town rodeo.
I know they're
full grown adults. It's like, what's gonna happen to them?
She's like three rows ahead of them.
Yeah,
so
3 rows down.
You can totally see her. I also understand being responsible for a group of senior citizens and not wanting anything bad to happen because you're totally responsible for them. I get
it, but it just seems like
either way, Laura.
It's not like they're kids.
Laura.
It's not they're a bunch of kids. You have to keep an eye on them from running off and get kidnapped. They're full-grown adults.
Yeah, and they seem pretty spry.
And they're active seniors. They're not active seniors. They're not in wheelchairs. They're not like lugging around oxygen tanks and like popping pills. They're pretty healthy seniors.
Yeah,
because they are active. That's the whole thing. They're for active living, active citizens.
Mrs. Ingalls is a little feisty. Anyway,
she is. She's the feisty one. Very independent of the group. So anyway, during the rodeo, we start getting the rodeo montage, and in this montage, we're introduced to Trish, who's a giant mountain of a black woman, who wins the hay stacking contest. Now she kind of looks like Michonne from Walking Dead mixed with like Michael Clark Duncan.
Totally.
Like that's the hybrid.
Yes.
And for wrestling fans out there, she looks like a female version of Big E with R-Truth blended in.
Yes.
So there's my two references for that should cover everybody's spectrum.
I can't get any better than that.
So next they crown the rodeo queen, which is just 3 women. It's won by Roshan, I don't know, Dubois. who we'll see her later again, but she wins the rodeo queen crown.
Yeah, so all this seems really legit.
Yeah.
So far, this rodeo seems really, really
it does.
legit. They have like hay baling competition. They have the rodeo queen that they're
they
crowning
have the
and
carnival
like,
games.
The
It's
carnival
like a,
games.
it's like
There's legitimate employees.
yes,
at
it's
this
very
place.
legit.
Yes.
Now,
How was the rodeo queen chosen? By the way, I mean,
I don't
who
know. That's-
voted on that?
yeah, and that's a weird thing too. Like, like I get like, beauty pageants, like the county or the
Right.
state or whatever, but the rodeo queen, it's like, who gets in that? Like,
That's very political. I don't know.
that can't be a very prestigious title to win.
She seems pretty happy
Given
about
the fact
it.
there are
though.
only 3 women involved.
I know,
Too. So at one point, Simon looks back at Kit, and we see a creepy rodeo clown standing behind Kit. Yeah, and Sarah has a
I
thing
don't
with clowns.
like clowns. So
But he's barely a clown.
No,
at
he
best.
is barely a clown. But I will say that this scene kind of helps set the tone of this movie for me. Like, normally I love these movies that you make me. I'm just gonna say this. It's normally a lot of comedy, but this kind of like made this kind of set like a, I don't know, like an intense overtone to the whole
This
movie.
is probably
It's
one
seeing
like this
scene.
may be like the most intense movie we've had you on for. Most of the other ones have been pretty light, the comical,
Yeah,
the
this
bad.
is
This is probably definitely the different.
This was a moment where I was like, oh, this is different. Anyway, the scary rodeo clown is like in the back, and he's
again. I want to emphasize he's barely a clown.
Yeah,
barely a clown at all. Like he's got hardly any face paint on.
Yes.
He's basically has like a little bit of white paint on each cheek with like some like painted on freckles, and that's it. Like that's about as clown as he gets.
still scary to me.
So Simon looks away, and he goes back to Lillian, and then the clown appears right next to Simon, like inches from his face. Simon gets scared, and the crowd cheers and laughs at the clown for scaring Simon. Like, oh, he's such a good clown. That's funny.
Radio clowns aren't supposed to be funny. I mean, clowns are supposed to
Yes.
be funny, not terrifying.
And now we meet Enos Bishop, the one-armed bull rider.
My favorite character.
By far the best character in this movie. He's the one-armed bull rider. He takes his turn riding the bull, although it's in this radio it's a horse, so I guess he's bucking a bronco instead of a bull. But he's doing his thing. He's bucking. He's doing his rodeo thing.
Hackett, by the way, is the announcer.
Yes.
And he says, "Give him a hand because he needs one."
Yes, he does.
He's like, "Thanks." Like that. There are subtle funnies in this movie. He never needs one.
So, the Enos falls off the horse. The horse falls, and the horse actually breaks its leg during this rodeo. The crowd falls silent. They actually show the bone sticking out of the horse's leg, which is pretty gross.
Yeah.
And I was like, of all the characters in this movie, the horse was the one I felt the most sympathy for. Like, I just like, oh, not the horse.
know.
I don't care about these people, but the horse. Trish walks up and pulls out this like large, like Rick Grimes like revolver, this giant like Colt Python type thing. Is about to shoot the horse, but Enos shows him like, no, wait. And he just takes the gun so he can shoot the horse himself.
So are Enos and Trish employees
That's
of
what
the
I never
rodeo?
understood.
Because if they were doing things within the rodeo and then they shot the horse, like an employee would shoot a horse. Like
That's the one thing I didn't understand about these characters. Like I didn't know if they were. I didn't think either one were employees of the rodeo. I think they were just there, like they're outsiders competing, competing in it. Like it was like, like, hey, come on, I'll compete.
Then why would you
Which, again,
feel
I
like
don't
you could walk up to somebody's horse and shoot it? Like,
Yeah, unless Enos supply, unless they like you have to supply your own horse.
This is my horse. I'm just.
But it is a weird. I thought the
shoot
same
it.
things. Like first of all, they shoot the horse right there in front of everybody. Like they don't like empty the like, all right, guys, let's get out of here. We don't need to see this. Nope,
Right.
the bleachers are full of people. Bam, they shoot the horse in front of everybody.
front of
and then
everyone.
Hackers like, all right, guys, that's it. Go home.
See you next year.
See you next time or something like that. Yeah.
Have a good time.
But it's agree. Like Trish and Enos, I don't understand their roles. If they were employees, it makes no sense for them for what happens to their characters
I
later. But it wouldn't make sense for him for Enos to shoot the horse if he's an employee. But if he's not an employee, why is he shooting the horse? Unless it's his own horse, and unless he's shooting the property of the rodeo, I don't get it.
Either
it's
way,
weird.
he shoots a horse. We see a horse
horse murder.
Yeah, horse murder.
Yeah,
along with the rest of the audience.
So the thunderous sound of the gunshot causes Simon to jump a bit, and this causes Lillian's fancy silver hairbrush to fall underneath the bleachers,
which is important.
Yeah, that actually comes back later.
That is one thing. This movie does connect things very well.
It does do a pretty good job of that.
It does a pretty good job.
I watched it, I think, twice, and I don't remember there being, other than this whole rodeo conversation we just had, there's not a whole lot of like loose ends or like things that don't really add up or make sense. And if they did, like at the time, it didn't bother me, like because I was entertained enough to overlook it. Except for this thing about Enos and the horse now. That's going to bother me. Anyway, so like I said, the rodeo ends, the crowd leaves, but our group of seniors kind of stay back a bit to like, hey, let's let the crowds die out before we, try to get out in traffic and all that. Which is weird because it's a small town. It's not like you're leaving like Busch Stadium or
anywhere else.
Or Madison Square Garden, thousands of people. Yeah, in the middle of traffic. No, it's an old country road there's no traffic.
There were like 80 people.
Yeah. So now we cut to some woman who's dressed like she's from Little House on the Prairie, like long denim skirt, dress, and like fluffy blouse. She's pushing a large flatbed cart up a hill.
I like to call it the morgue trolley.
That's a great way to put it.
It really reminded me of that scene in Monty Python in the Search for
Bring
the
Out Your Dead.
Bring out your dead.
It really is, yeah.
Bring out your dead.
Because the dead horse is on this thing, covered in a shirt, cloth in a sheet now.
And she is pushing it.
This poor woman is like...
She's petite. She's not a large woman.
Not very... And she's pushing a large cart with a dead horse on it up a hill, by the way. Not just across flat ground, up a hill.
It's impressive.
It is impressive. And she basically tilts, gets to where she's going. She tips the cart up or down, however you want to look, and the horse, she basically dumps the horse's body into like a large hole or pit in the ground and just walks away. So we go back to the seniors. They're finally loading back onto the bus, and this is when Lillian notices her brush is missing. So Kit says, "Hey Simon, go get her brush, and we'll wait for you. Just go get it." So Simon goes back into the rodeo. He finds it under the bleachers, but he can't reach it because he's just a lazy bitch.
Pretty much.
He's like, that's too much effort to get it. So instead of doing what he's just like, fuck it, and he starts wandering around the rodeo carnival grounds. He's just wandering around wherever he feels like going. And he goes back to the test your strength game, tries again, still can't win.
He's a little butthurt over that, obviously, because he was gonna win. Kit like a steak,
stuffed steak.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. That vape lady, she won the horns. She won these bull horns.
Thank you. That's where the horns came from. That makes sense.
So she wins these bull horns when Jacques, hits the bell, and then Kit wanted this like stuffed steak.
Yeah, it's like a stuffed T-bone.
But Simon could not do it. No. So then he tries to steal it.
He doesn't try. He just straight up steals it.
He couldn't get it. He couldn't get it off. He was too weak to get it off of the damn fence.
Really? Because I thought he came back with it in hand.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So yeah. He fails at stealing the thing anyway.
He fails at a lot.
Yeah, he fails at everything. He just fails at life. So he walks away. And he gets back to the front gate, and he sees a woman running down a dirt road at him. And the woman runs up to the bus, begging for help to be let in. Yeah. But they just close the door on her.
Immediately they're like, nope, close those doors.
Close them up.
Don't let her in.
At this point, we kind of realize that this is the woman we saw in the opening scene who was tied up, and she's managed to escape from somewhere.
See, her face looks fine. It was good. It was a good
there's
choice.
no bloody lips or anything.
Yeah.
So now we see a man dressed in all black, riding a horse. Mm-hmm. He's galloping into view, and you see him like fling out an arm, and he drops him, and he's armed like a whip, like a straight up bull whip.
Right.
Only his whip, at the end of the whip, is like this 3-pronged metal claw. It looks like the thing like in those little claw games for kids where you try to get the stupid stuffed animal that you never ever get because they always fall out. But it looks like that, only like much more sturdy and durable. And this like cast iron, wrought iron, like just pointy. It's pretty wicked looking. Simple but wicked looking. Where was I? The man in black, he snaps his whip and the claw thing like digs into the woman's side, like just right into like the side of her ribs or something like that.
Right into her guts.
All the seniors on the bus, they scream and they're looking on horror like, oh my God. The girl's screaming in pain.
Everyone's reactions are appropriate.
They are very appropriate, yes. The man in black yanks his whip back again and the claw explodes out of the woman's side, ripping her open and like tearing out like large bloody chunks of her. And like bits of like intestine or some kind of organs come out.
So I would have to say, and again, normally you guys put me on movies that were created before the year 2000.
Yes, that's very true.
So the practical effects are always interesting to talk about. This movie had a really good I think had a great balance of CGI and practical effects.
I agree with you.
I am not into CGI as much, so like whenever I see CGI I'm like but this one was good. Like when he pulled out, not only did you get like practical effects, you got some CGI, but then they sprayed on the screen.
Yeah.
And I liked that effect. I thought that was really intense.
The CGI I think is fairly limited, and even if it is, it's very well blended in. It's not the shitty CGI we were so accustomed to on this show. But I like to say, because my neck knows the makeup effect of this is actually pretty good. The gore effects are really solid in this movie. Everyone on the bus, they're screaming in fear. The woman falls to the ground, dead. She dies.
She's done.
The bus driver throws the bus into drive, starts hauling ass down the road, or trying to turn the bus around the hall. And at this point, just completely leaving Simon behind, who's staying at the gate.
Simon's
like, what the fuck? Hey!
Hey!
He's like, come back, get me.
He's just standing there watching all of this.
Yeah, he does. He does allow that too. Sitting around
watching. Lot of watching. Yes, he's an observant young man.
The bus doesn't get very far at all because what happens next is really fucking insane and pretty much impossible, but still kind of awesome at the same time. The cowboy in black snaps his whip again, and this time he somehow manages to whip the claw into the neck of the bus driver through like the open driver's side window from like 30 feet away on a moving bus through a window.
He's been practicing those skills, that whip skill.
This guy would put Indiana Jones to shame.
Oh my God, he's got it.
So the bus comes to a screeching halt. The driver's neck gets ripped out as the whips the cowboy rips the back. He just rips his neck out. The driver face plants on the horn. Kit like springs in action. She kind of moves the body, drops the body off the chair, and and she drives the bus away.
She's a great group leader, by the way. I just have to say, she's very resourceful. She's like, "You're dead. That's it." And she just like pushes him out of the way and drives.
Yes,
gets behind the driver's
she gets
seat.
shit done. And again, leaving Simon behind, screaming.
Poor Simon.
Which mentions the cowboy now turns his attention to Simon, who's like, "Oh fuck!" He takes off running back into the rodeo grounds. Simon comes to a dead end, and the dark cowboy, he's credited as the dark cowboy. So,
well, he's wearing all black. He's wearing a black Stetson and
black bandana that covers like from like the nose down.
Exactly.
Big black like duster trench coat.
Yes.
Black jeans, black boots. Simon gets pinned in, and then so the dark cowboy stabs Simon in the upper arm with like another claw, like the claw end of his whip.
Yeah, it's like almost the same exact claw end. And
it's the same thing, but I don't think it's attached to his whip this time. It's like just like a puncture.
I found it really funny though, because he stabs him like right in the top of the shoulder, and that would really, really hurt. And he freaks out. The sound that they put in it, it's like when he stabs him in the shoulder. I don't know. Would that make a person go down? Would that make...
Well, that might not make you know, but the severe ass beating that he gets...
That's right. Then he
because Cowboy just beats the shit out of Simon. Beats him down. He wakes up on the ground briefly, and then looking down at Simon now are three cowboys. Right. There's three of them now. Yeah. And the dark cowboy just punches Simon in the face again, knocking him out cold. We go to blackout. We cut back to the bus driving down the dirt roads. The scenes are still screaming and hollering, wanting the bus to go faster.
It's good reactions.
It is. Very good. This is where they really, again, hammer home the fact that nobody has cell phone reception right here.
Right.
So, of course, now this is when the bus breaks down. Because that's like really, come on. But of course, it breaks down.
Well, I guess because she's like, they keep talking about drive faster, faster. She's like, I'm driving as fast as I can. So the bus starts to like overheat.
Yeah, I get. I mean, that's what happened. It basically overheats and radar blows up or something like that. But realistically, even if you're driving it as fast as it can, it's not going to overheat unless the fact that you just didn't put enough coolant in it.
Right.
And if it was low on coolant or antifreeze or something like that, then
it's legit. I killed my first car that way. So. And it was not a bus full of seniors, thank God. But yeah, so they're like, that's it. Of course it breaks down though. Yeah. Of course.
Kit does her best to keep everyone calm. He's like, listen, stay here. I'm going to go outside. I'll fix the bus. Time passes. Night falls. We go back to Simon, who wakes up in a cell. And also in the cell with him is our Enos, the one-armed cowboy bull rider, the rodeo queen, Roshan Dubois, and Trish, the man-beast woman. They're all in the cell locked up together.
What a crazy group of misfits.
That is a crazy group. They talk for a bit, trying like, who are you? Who is you? What's going on? The banter that you get, in all these scenes. And then they start hearing screaming coming from above them, and they look up and see like this grate in the ceiling that kind of leads up to like the outside, and they see like the arm of like a woman just kind of flops down into view, and then Roshin, I don't know what her fucking name is.
Let's just call her.
I don't know, Roshin. It's spelled Rosheen, so Roshin.
Yeah.
Looks to the side and she sees the creepy rodeo clown again from earlier. Who's just standing there outside their cell, staring at the group. But then the clown like slips them the key to their cell and just walks away.
This guy's complex.
He is complex. He's an enigma, wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in a
clown outfit.
Clown outfit. There you go.
Gross.
So they just open the cell door and they leave.
Well, we gotta. Enos, this is the first time that Enos offers his arm losing story.
Yes.
To Simon. He's like, want to hear how I lost my arm? Simon's like, no, not really. Like, and then the clown comes, and then yeah.
The arm thing it's an ongoing thing throughout the movie. So yeah, they just open the cell door, they leave, but Enos grabs basically this gopher killing tool to use as a weapon, and it would definitely work as a weapon. It's a pretty vicious looking thing. It's basically just a bunch of spikes on the end of a stick that you jam into the ground to kill gophers underground.
That's exactly it. Yeah, and it's made of metal and it's kind of rusty. And I wondered why no one wanted to help the one-armed man make a weapon, because he's like, we got to make a weapon, and everybody's like just standing there watching him do it, and he's like, it's cool. And he's like, does anybody else want a weapon? No, nobody else.
Nobody takes a weapon. Just the one-armed cowboy.
He's a badass.
He is. So they leave the underground area. They surface and emerge in like the rodeo fairground area, or all like the rodeo arenas, and they make their way through like the animal pens, and they come to a stop when they see a woman being dragged away by the cart pushing woman we saw earlier. The one pushing cart, and they so they turn back to go back the way they came, but then they see Carney Cowboy kind of about to ready to cross their path. So like, oh shit, right. We have to hide, and they hide inside one like the animal pens amongst the horses or the cows or whatever. And they also notice, Enos says that the Cowboys have turned the main rodeo arena into like a giant cage now. So now there's like barbed wire up along the top of the fence, and they keep anybody from getting out. So Enos leads them away again, sneaking through the animal pens. And they go back to the woman who loads the dead girl's body onto the cart, which is now filled with like a bunch of other dead bodies. So who knows where these bodies came from, but it's filled with bodies.
I think it's the employees from the whole carnival thing that we saw, and just maybe other people that they kidnapped.
Definitely people they kidnapped, but like, if you're just murdering all your employees, then that's gonna get around.
Well, I commented about that because it's like the one lady that we see get dragged away, she's the face painter, because they show all these people in the beginning, like in the whole rodeo carnival, and like there's one lady, she has her face painted and she's painting another face.
You're right, there's a face painter. They show that, but if you're saying the woman who just got dragged away,
I don't know,
was a face painter, which again would make sense because Oh, she had her face painted.
So I don't
Okay.
know if it was her or not, but either way, that's the crappiest summer job
Yeah,
ever.
and you think word would get around, like, people are going to work and not coming back.
They're
would,
never coming back.
that would not be a good business model.
I don't
So
think
I
they
don't
care.
know. I just think I don't know. I think it's just like random visitors that piss them off for whatever apparent reason.
Either way, this is pretty good intensity by this point. I mean, we're only about 25 minutes in.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple kills and shit is about to happen some more.
Yeah.
Like, we're about to see something else.
So where was he? The cart lady.
cage,
Cart lady. We also see at this point that she carries around her like this giant mallet that looks like a cross between something that you might use to churn butter with and like a mace. Like it's this huge. It kind of looks like the asterisk symbol on your phone. Like if you looked at it from a top down perspective, it has that star shape, but it's like just this giant wooden mallet thing. Like I don't know what the fuck this thing is.
It almost looks like a pole with like a big pole that you would pull out of the ground that had concrete on the end of it.
Yeah.
Only it's formed. I tried to look this up to see if it was a weapon that was used in the slaughtering of animals, of livestock.
Yeah,
like just to because basically that's what they're using it for.
Yeah,
in
I
this
mean that would
movie.
make sense. It would.
I couldn't find anything, but that's what it seems to be.
At least
It's just,
old days they would use.
Yeah.
Now they don't do it, but yeah.
Well, right. Now it's
like
humane.
a little bit. Now it's like a giant like metal spike that just punctures
Yeah,
right
I
through
don't
their
want to
hip.
think about it.
Yeah, I try not
I
to
just
think
want
about
to
it
eat it. Sorry, vegetarians.
So, anyway, so yeah, she's got this crazy giant mallet weapon. So we go back to the group as they're sneaking through the pens. They run into the male animal rights activist we saw earlier, who he's tied up to one of the fences. He's begging for their help. Simon looks over and sees the girl activist. She's tied up on a post nearby. She's crying, crying, weeping. The group, our main group, like chooses not to help the guy. They just like fuck it. They start crawling away past him. The guy's screaming. The girl's crying.
There's not a lot of ways that they could help him. I mean, because pretty soon after this.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's like he's just tied up by the rope. They could have untied the rope.
They could have untied it for him and given him a chance.
Given him a chance. Like, hey, you don't cut him with us, but we're going to tie you. You go do whatever. But
it's pretty much Simon's MO, not to help.
Yeah, it's Simon. So
I blame Simon.
Now we see this man walking up behind the girl tied to the post, and the man's holding like this very large, red hot, burning branding iron.
Oh yeah.
He unties the girl and drags her and bends her over a hitching post.
Mm-hmm.
Hitching, not post. It's not really post. That's I forget what hitching. Shit. We'll call it a post. It's not a post, but it's.
He bends her over this block of wood, essentially, in the middle of a arena.
Yeah. And now we see that this was the guy, the ticket taker cowboy, who every time he would take a ticket, he'd put the stamp on it, he'd go like he was searing the stamp into their hand. Yeah, that was his thing.
It was creepy.
But
kind of funny.
Yeah, so and it turns out that this cowboy's name is simply Brando, so go figure.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, Brando for branding. So Brando jams the red hot branding iron into the side of the girl's thigh, which instantly just burns through her jeans and sears her flesh. Brando then goes for the guy activist, who starts screaming, "No, take them, take them!" He's trying to sell. But Brando, he brands the guy in the back as our group cowers and hides on the other side, right on the other side of the metal fence. Brando goes back to the girl, drags her into one of the large rodeo areas, where he tosses her to the ground, and our main group starts to crawl away again, leaving the guy tied up who's still begging for their help. In the rodeo arena, Hackett and several other cowboys are standing around watching as two more cowboys on horseback with lassos gallop towards the girl, who is now screaming, running for her life. She gets lassoed right as she makes it to the fence, the chain link fence. That's when Enos, Simon, Roisin, and Trish can only watch from their hiding place as the girl screaming for help gets basically drawn and quartered.
Which they show this in the real rodeo earlier. They show this scene where they hook a calf and they take it by like the leg and and like its front leg and its back leg. So they kind of
they have
this.
one lasso around like
Yeah.
the neck area, and then they lassoed it around one of its rear legs to get it to stop running.
Exactly.
So they did show
but it's
this.
like it's a callback to
it's
that.
the exact same thing
but-
because they have the girls
yeah.
around like one is around her neck or her upper arm or one of her arms, and the other one's around her leg, and they're drawing and quartering her basically. It's not quarter, it's more half drawn and halved, I guess.
See, they have to practice for the rodeo.
Yeah, that's how they get so good.
They don't want to hurt their cattle.
So basically, this snaps her spine.
That's pretty good.
It is, and
Damn.
she's now paralyzed. She gets dragged off. The cart woman walks up to her, knees down next to the girl, see if she's still alive. She's still alive. So she gets up to go grabs her mace mallet, and then like we said earlier, she kills this girl by smashing open her skull. This giant,
just stomps her in the skull with it.
Yeah, her skull is busted open. The cowboys turn their attention to the tied up guy activist now. And then one of the cowboys using a cattle prod, they force him into the rodeo arena where they attach like this giant ox harness to him. Like you think like, you hook up how you would hitch an ox to a cart, like one of these things.
Right.
They force him to run as another horseback cowboy gallops after him. This time it's Carney cowboy.
Carney,
he leaps off his horse, landing right next to the guy on his feet, next to the guy who's, running for his life. But in mid-air, like grabs the guy around where the horns are, because this harness they attach to him has like horns they attach to it. So he grabs him by the horns, and then Carney just like easily snaps the guy's neck using like the ox harness for added leverage, and so he's dead now.
That's it. That didn't seem like much of a challenge for him.
No, that was not much of a challenge at all. Very easy. Hackett gives a whistle and a gesture, and we see two cowboys head down the stairs that we saw our group escape up from. So like, hey, you basically go get the others.
Yeah.
And shortly those two come back, and they basically we see Hackett, Carney, and the other two jog up because like, oh shit, they know they're not there now.
They realize they're gone. Yeah.
So they go hunting. All the cowboys start looking around, searching for the escapees. Hackett orders the cart woman to get the cart of dead bodies out of here.
Bring out your dead.
Yeah. So she starts pushing the cart away. The camera pans down to show our four escapees are hiding on like the lower rack of the cart, mixed in with all the dead bodies.
That's a pretty good hiding spot.
It really is.
That's
it's
pretty good.
solid.
I mean, that's pretty awful to have to do that.
Yeah, but do what you gotta do. But yeah, it's pretty good.
Pretty smart.
Yeah. Now we cut back to the bus. Kit's still trying to fix it. Kit notices that Lillian has wandered off somewhere, so she's like,
she has.
Yep. So she tells the group, "Hey, stay here. I'm gonna go look for Lillian. I'll be back." So Kit goes off into dark woods alone. It doesn't take her long though for Lillian to bump back into Kit, and Lillian's like, "Hey, I was trying to find the fork in the road to flag down help. I was just trying to be helpful, whatever." And that's the scene.
Yep.
We go back to the death cart. Roisin is barely holding it together as dead bodies like bumping and flopping up against her.
Oh, we also missed really quickly, back when they're trying to fix the bus, like the bus driver is dead and the two guys are trying to like drag the bus driver somewhere. I don't know. But then they're also going to grab the cooler out of the back to try to like fix the radiator.
Yeah, they're saying they needed the
water.
only water left was the melted ice in the cooler.
Yeah.
So they try to get that.
They fail and drop the cooler all over
because they trip over the dead body and the water's wasted now. Yes. Where were we? Oh yeah, so the cart woman wheels the cart up to like this large incinerator that's sitting out in the middle of nowhere now. I don't know where that came from, but there's this giant incinerator.
I mean, if you're gonna kill that many people, you better have an incinerator.
Yeah, or a death pit, which they use that too. So I don't understand that.
Where are they getting all these people?
That's another good point. It's a small town. Like at this point, like the entire population of this town is dead. Like,
pretty much dead.
But yet nobody's like suspicious at all. Well, this once a year rodeo that comes and goes. So anyway, the incinerator has like this small conveyor belt attached to it, so the cart one starts like rolling bodies into the incinerator, and she rolls one in and she goes back for another body, and that's when she gets attacked and punched in the face by Trish. And god damn, apparently cart woman can take a punch because she instantly fights back like it was nothing.
Oh my god, Trish is not a small person.
No, I'm saying this might be the most impressive thing in this movie because I'm pretty fucking sure if Trish punched me in the face, I'd be lying on the floor unconscious. She's a giant fucking muscle-bound woman, and this petite little cart-pushing woman takes a punch in the face. It's like nothing. It's like, rah! And she goes on the offensive and starts attacking Trish.
She's small and mighty. I mean,
Yes.
you know.
So, yeah, now she's still standing, but she becomes the aggressor. Cartwoman grabs her mallet, starts swinging it at Trish. Patricia's finally able to get the upper hand. She knocks out Cartwoman, who the group then hog-ties her.
Right.
Enos tells Simon to gag her, but Simon, the pussy, like I said, takes too long because he hesitates. He's like, gag her? I don't know. And Cartwoman comes to and starts screaming.
Screaming, of course.
And this alerts several other cowboys, and they come running. So Enos, being the badass that he is, kills Cartwoman by stabbing her in the head with the gopher killer. Just, plunk, she's dead.
Simon's like, he killed her. Oh my God. It's kill or be killed, Simon.
Yeah, jeez. Like, everything you've seen, like, you really... So the group sees the two cowboys running their way. Enos orders them to run, so he's gonna stay behind to fight them off to give the others time to get away.
The one-armed man.
The one-armed man.
Stay back.
So we cut to Enos, who now is somehow back at the rodeo grounds all of a sudden, surrounded by the two cowboys. So that was a weird transition.
Run? Yeah, I don't know.
Because they're all kind of out in the field with this area. Now all of a sudden they're back in the rodeo area. But anyway, being surrounded by two cowboys ain't shit for Super Enos, because he pretty much easily dispatches both of the nameless cowboys with the gopher killer. Just stabs them both, kills them almost instantly. At this point, I'm just going to call him SEAL Team Enos, because this guy is a fucking badass. One-armed killing machine.
2 cowboys down so far.
Yes. But then out of fucking nowhere, a claw comes flying. The claw whip comes flying in from off screen, impales itself into Enos's right shoulder, which is his good arm.
It's his good arm, yeah.
Enos looks behind and sees the dark cowboy in like the rodeo booth, like sticking his head out the window, like, hey, which is kind of weird.
That's a serious whip.
That whip is like length. It's got to be like a 60, 90 foot. It's so big. Anyway, Dark Cowboy yanks the whip back, which causes Enos's one remaining arm to get torn off, go flying through the air, still gripping the gopher killer in his hand.
All it takes is one little whip. Like,
one whip. Yep. He whipped it good. Damn it! I should have had Devo.
Yeah.
Damn! I didn't figure a way to edit that in later. Whip it. Anyway, so so we see Enos's arm laying near one of the fences as Enos stands there screaming in pain and shock, like, what the fuck? Like, he's like scared, like, oh, my pain. He's like, but he's also got like, are you seriously kidding me? Like, my arm, really?
And now Enos goes on a journey after this.
Enos does go on quite the journey after this. He limps away in pain, manages to climb up and over a metal fence and even open gates to leave the rodeo area.
Under and over fences.
Under and over with no arms.
Nope.
He makes his way to what I can only describe as a blacksmithing shed, where he finds a red-hot burning brand like the one we saw the two activists get used on earlier.
Where's the cowboy, by the way? The cowboy doesn't follow him?
Yeah, actually, I thought that was weird, too. But
I guess he thinks, like, he's
maybe he likes to
now.
toy. He's like, hey, I'm going to toy with him. But the thing is, like, we see him. He's up, like, in the radio booth, hanging out a window. So maybe by the time he got down and came around, it gave Enos enough time to move, get away.
Enos is like the Black Knight.
He is the Black Knight. He's like,
second Monty Python. Tis blood a flesh wound.
Tis a flesh wound.
Have at you.
No, I'm not. I'll bite you to death or something like that. Yeah, it's basically what it is.
I took your bloody arm off. Sorry, that's a great movie.
It is a great movie. It's one of the best movies. So, anyway, basically Enos now uses this red-hot branding iron to cauterize his bleeding shoulder wound.
That's right. He throws himself down onto the branding iron
to cauterize his missing severed arm.
This reminded me of what's the movie where the chick cuts off her hands? The movie that you love so much.
Knucklebones.
Yeah.
Knucklebones.
It's just like that.
It is like Knucklebones.
Badass.
So we cut back to Simon and the two girls. They find a small cabin, which they are able to sneak into and hide in. But again, Pussy Simon fails again at lifting Roisin.
He can't even lift this little girl into a window.
She probably weighs like $110, and he can't lift her up like 3 feet into a window.
I could have lifted that girl into that window.
Trish just comes over and is like, go stand by the door. And he just basically one-handed like picks up and throws Rasheen into the window to unlock the door.
She does throw her hat in first because
Yes.
she's wearing this like really cheap blue hat, but
Yeah.
she has a crown full of like rhinestones
Yeah.
on it because she won.
Yeah, it's her
queen.
rodeo queen tiara that she wears on her
Yeah.
hat the rest of the movie.
So she throws that in, and then when she gets in the window, she steps on it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So they go over, open the front door for Simon. That's when they see Enos making his way back towards them through the field.
They're like, is that him?
But, poor fucking Enos.
Oh, poor Enos.
Now, from out of nowhere, pops up Carney Cowboy, who impales Enos through the side
Oh my God.
with a pitchfork. And not only that, he lifts Enos up into the air on the pitchfork and holds him up in the air for like a while. He holds his pitchfork up in the air with Enos sticking on top of it, skewered on top of the pitchfork.
Yep.
Kind of like you see again, like in wrestling, when like the big strong guy goes for the suplex and just holds the guy up in a vertical position for like to show off his
All for
strength.
dramatic effect.
Basically, that's what he's doing with Enos on a pitchfork.
But then he bails him.
And then
Like
he gives like a
hay.
flick of the wrist. Yeah, just
Yeah.
like a flick of the wrist, and Enos goes flying off the pitchfork
Like a bale of hay.
and lands in like the large body pit next to his dead horse. Lands right next to his dead horse.
Man, he went on that journey and got branded and everything for nothing.
Yep.
It's like what? Like that was fast. And
Yeah.
Simon gets to watch it. And of
Simon
course, he
watches
just
all too.
It's all your fault, Simon.
It is Simon's fault. Carney stands on top of the pit looking down at Enos, who's gasping for breath. But he's gasping, and then he gasps his last breath, and Enos dies.
Some more gasps.
Meanwhile, the other three have retreated back into the cabin, where Simon is crying about this being all his fault because he didn't gag the cart woman fast enough. And you know what, God, fuck you, Simon. It is your fault.
Yep, you
This-
should be
all
crying.
of this is your fault.
Yep, pretty much. Pretty much.
Looking around, Roisin figures out that this is Hackett's cabin.
Yep.
She also steals a bunch of money from a safe or something, like saying, "Hey, this is my prize money for
my
winning the
prize
rodeo.
money."
Yeah, I'm taking this." I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna argue with her. Like, they're murdering everybody. You might as well take his money too.
I guess. I mean, she feels pretty confident, I guess, that she's going to get out of there.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, you might as well take it if you do get out there. They give you something,
might
something
as
for
well.
your troubles.
yeah, F them. Give me your money.
So Trish tells her to tries to talk up and cheer up Simon, like give him the old pep talk and convince him to try to use the computer they find to contact help.
It's like a DOS.
It's like an old Apple II dog. Like it's like like a dot matrix printer next to it or something like that. But the computer won't even turn on.
No.
So now they hear footsteps approaching, and luckily for them, they also find a hidden hatch in the floor, which they use to hide and escape through. But Roisin makes Simon go back for her hat and her tiara, which, it's like, hey, don't leave it there. They'll know we're here. You have to get it. So he does, but by doing so, cuts Simon off from the others because Hackett comes in, and so Simon has to hide somewhere else in the house as the two girls are down in the hatch. We see Hackett take out a syringe from a desk drawer, but before he can do anything with it, he gets called away. He's like, hey, you hear something calling him, and so he gets up, he leaves the cabin. Simon joins the girls in the crawl space, and they find a tunnel, and they take it out. They start going down this tunnel. We cut back to the bus where the other old man, Nesbitt, and Jacques are trying to. We talked. This is the water scene.
Is this the water scene?
This is the water scene.
Oh, I'm really sorry.
It doesn't matter.
I will say they did a really good job of cutting back and forth from one group to the other group to make the story move along. Like there wasn't a lot of, and now we're on this group for a really long time, and there's all this back and forth. I would say
the pace. I think the pacing is pretty solid in this movie. It's decent.
Yeah,
I mean, especially coming off of like Iced, where it was just so slow and so dead for so long. Like it's pretty solid. It's pretty good. And there's no real the editing. The cuts aren't as like hard and dramatic. Like what
it all
flow.
makes sense.
Yeah, they flow. It flows
makes
nicely.
Sense.
Kit notices they all have flashlights, but she notices that suddenly there's a third light source coming from behind her, and she turns around to see a man holding a flashlight. Kit orders everyone to get back on the bus, but it turns out that the cowboy with the cattle prodder, who is named Prodder, by the way, is already on the bus waiting for them. He zaps Jacques, the black guy with the cage jail hat, as he tries to get back on the bus.
He zaps him good.
Now, how the hell Prouder got on the bus with nobody noticing in the first place, that's beyond me. That's a little weird, but whatever.
Do you know what? I didn't even question that because this scene is so fast moving. It's like you get the prod. He prods him to death, and so he bleeds kind of CGI out of his eyes. But even so, you get that, and then you get a dramatic cut back inside the bus.
Well, we get so he's screaming, and the camera cuts onto the bus where his vaping girlfriend is now dead because she's now dead with those the horns she won like sticking out of her head, like she was killed with a bullhorn. So we didn't see it happen, but it was a pretty good effect afterwards. I thought. Yeah, it's a good looking. Again, the makeup effects solid there, and the horn. At least in this scene, when you see it like sticking out of her head, like it looks almost metallic instead of like a regular like bullhorn. Yeah. Which I was like, whoa, that's weird, but whatever. So all the others take off running into the woods as Prouder continues to zack Jap to death. And like Sarah said, so much so that he begins foaming from the mouth and like bleeding from the eyes. Yeah. We cut to Kit leading Lillian and Nesbit through the woods looking for the other girl. Her name is Bird. Her name's just Bird.
I recognized her as an actress, by the way. Like, I went back to look at some of her credits, and she didn't have a ton. But
she did not.
I recognized her from, like, TV before, but...
A lot of the seniors didn't have a whole lot of credits, except for Lillian and... I guess maybe it was Bird who had a few others, but again, nothing that I like was really that stands out.
I recognized her, so I enjoyed her character very much, and like when she's running away, I don't know, are we to that point where she's running?
Yeah, we jumped to Bird. She's alone in the woods, and she's running, and then she gets lassoed from behind by the cowboy named Noose.
Yeah,
I love the names; they're so simple but so perfect. Like it's Brody. No, we have Brando, Prouder, and Noose so far.
Dark Cowboy. First, she turns up her hearing aids, which is really smart.
Is that what she does?
Yeah. So she's running through the woods, and she has these huge hearing aids on, and she turns them up so you hear it, and then you hear the sound of the lasso. And then it snags her.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Also, I just was going on cowboy names. In the credits, there's one named Brody and Zebra. I don't know who Zebra is, but Brody's got to be Carney. Like bro, because he's all jacked out. He's like, I'm guessing Carney's Brody, but I called him Carney throughout the whole time.
Brody, douchey.
So anyway, Bird gets lassoed around the neck from behind by Noose, who then does his best Jason Voorhees impersonation and starts swinging Bird around over his head like Jason swinging a camp counselor in a sleeping bag.
He hulks her over his head like 5 times.
Dude, it's so
whack.
It's pretty it's so completely impossible unless you're like the Incredible Hulk or Thor or something, but it's so just fun and awesome to watch as he's like whipping this girl, this senior like 7-year-old woman attached to a lasso over his head like 5 or 6 times.
Like nothing.
And then he just kind of like, lets the lasso go.
Yep.
And Bird just goes slamming up against a tree trunk,
ridiculous,
killing her. She's done.
I wrote down favorite kill so far. Best one yet.
We cut back to Hackett, who's back in his cabin. He takes off his shirt, and this is where he uses the aforementioned syringe to inject himself with what it shows us to be anabolic horse steroids.
Oh yeah.
Which when he does that, he goes through like this like hulking up process where he's like his muscles are like bulging and tense, and he's like going like and he's like trembling and shaking. And he's like and hulking out.
So I guess it's not so out of the question that guy just like basically lassoed her over the head. Like it seems pretty real.
No, I still don't know.
Okay.
I'm not a steroid expert, especially not horse steroids. I don't know if they would give you that much strength to do that, but I will say I at least like the fact that they try to explain it somehow, that why these normal people are doing these feats of strength like that,
crazy things
with horse steroids. So I like that.
I do too.
So after he goes through his hulking up process, he looks down and he finds like loose rhinestones on the floor. So we jump back to the seniors and Kit in the woods, where they eventually find Bird's dead body stuck to a tree, impaled through her chest by a tree branch. Noose is right about to grab Kit, but Lillian is able to spray Noose in the face with her like spray mace, or like so. Lillian always prepared.
Lillian is prepared. Like when they were watching the rodeo before,
Oh yeah,
she snuck a flask in, and the flask looked like a cell phone,
like one of those old cell phones.
It was
but yeah,
she's amazing. I mean,
I like the flask. Yeah, the antenna was the screw off where you drink out of. Yeah, it was
now
pretty
she's
good.
got the pepper spray. I mean,
Pepper spray,
she
yes.
is.
Lillian's
She's
on it. Yeah, she's on it.
On it.
This allows Lillian and Kit to run away, but poor Nesbitt gets grabbed by
God.
Prodder as he tries to turn and run. So Prodder and Noose just stomp and beat Nesbitt to death. They just kicked the shit out of him and they beat him down. He's dead.
They don't really show it. I'm kind of glad.
No, but they show
it
the aftermath, and he's all like, oh,
Yeah,
he's
his
jacked up.
Face is all jacked up. I couldn't tell if that was CGI or if that.
I think it
what
was
that
just good effects, and his jaw was
It
all
was
messed up. It was,
good.
yeah,
I
it was like,
couldn't tell.
oh, poor guy. We cut to Trish, Roisin, and Simon. They're exiting like the tunnel. They underneath the cabin, and they argue about what to do next. Simon wants to sit by the road and wait for Kit to come back for him with help, while Trish and Roisin are just like, fuck that, let's get the help. We want to get the fuck out of Dodge.
I wouldn't trust Simon either. Like
No.
with all of his crazy
With everything
ideas.
he's done, Trish should be like, fuck you, you've done nothing but whine, complain, cause people to get killed. You ain't doing shit.
You're in the back.
Yeah.
You're standing in
like,
the back.
Like, you want to stay and wait for help? Fine, fuck you,
No.
we're out of here.
No.
So we go right back to Kit and Lillian in the woods, and they hear the sounds of a whimpering dog. And
Oh my gosh.
Kit finds this injured dog lying in some ferns. And she reaches out to comfort the dog. She's like, hey, boy, it's okay. I'm here. I'm going to help you. And the camera pans over past the dog. And we see that Noose is hiding on the other side of the ferns with his hand stuffed up inside
In
the
the
dead dog's body,
dog.
working the dog like a puppet.
And really, this is the second time though that they've used the dead as like bait. So it's really, really smart. Like they use Bird because I was like, what? Bird didn't die that way. Why was she up on the tree? And I think it was because he was trying to lure them into. And that's what he's trying to do with the puppet. I mean,
I get definitely what the dog is. I get that,
Yeah.
but I didn't think that about Bird because we still get smashed up against a tree. And
So maybe she just
my
like,
thing
is
was like
there.
maybe she did when she did hit that
Right.
tree trunk because we see it from the back. So you could argue that when she hit the tree trunk, she did that branch and impaled her when
Could've
she hit
got
it.
her.
We don't know for sure.
Either way, this is a really smart tactic. That
Yeah,
this
it
guy
really is. Like
using.
it's genius. Really, it's
Yeah.
disgusting, but it's genius because right as Kid is about to like touch the dog, Noose pops up, rips the dead dog off his arm, which is disgusting looking because you see always like blood and like sinew and like just stringy guts like just come flopping off.
Worst puppet ever.
Yeah, and then Prodder pops up behind the two women.
Yeah.
And that's it. We cut back to Enos's dead body lying in the body pit. But suddenly Enos gasps for air, so fuck yeah, by some miracle bullshit, Enos is still alive.
What?
And I'm okay with it, even though he should be dead 3 times over.
I mean, everything has been kind of weird up until now, but this was it. Like,
Yeah. He
I don't know.
He
So-
definitely should be dead. But
he
he's
got
alive.
stabbed by a pitchfork and lost an arm.
Yeah.
He is the Black Knight.
Yeah, he looks up and sees the rodeo clown standing above him, looking down at him. Enos begs him for help, but the clown just looks at him and then walks away.
It's a pretty good shot.
So Enos, being the badass that he is, doing what he has to do, starts climbing out of the body pit by using only his feet to propel himself up and forward, causing him to his face to be pushed and dragged and smeared through all the loose, bloody intestines and other organs that line the walls of this pit.
He's like, help me, help me. And the clown's just looking at him and kind of shaking his head. And he like, buddy, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Enos is like, okay.
I
And
could
he
help you, but you won't learn anything.
Yeah, you have to learn from this. What can you learn? Keep your mouth closed.
But
That's what
fucking
you
Enos, he powers through and he makes it to the top and out of the pit.
He does.
And
Of course he does.
And now the rodeo clown comes back with a bucket of water. He kneels down next to Enos and starts cleaning Enos up. He starts wiping him off with a washcloth and water, cleaning up Enos.
That was super gross. You learned your lesson. Here's a creepy sponge bath.
Yes.
Hey, Mr. Clown.
It is. It's a creepy sponge bath by a
Could
clown.
could you help a brother out with this severed arm or this punctured lung?
God, just imagine getting
I just
sponge
got-
bathed by a
just
clown.
gonna clean you off. Didn't make you feel better. Who cares about that lung? You're fine.
God, they punctured lung and Jesus Christ.
And that's it.
That's it. Yeah, and then we cut back to Simon and the two girls, Roisin and Simon. They're sitting down talking, and Simon has the balls and the audacity to ask her out on a date if they get out of here. And Roisin's like, you know what, you get me out of here, fuck it, I'll do whatever you want.
Do whatever
but like,
you
are you
want.
serious, Simon? You've been the biggest puss this whole time, and now you're like, hey, you want to go grab a drink or what are you doing after this?
You want to do something if we get out of here?
You want to Netflix and chill after this? Like, Jesus Christ.
He's not reading the signs
Read
very
the
well.
room. Read the woods.
Yeah, he's not reading it very well.
And then that's when Trish spots coming down the road towards them the bus being towed by horses and the cowboys.
Yeah.
As the bus passes them, they see inside all the dead bodies of the senior citizens piled up inside the bus.
Well, and the whole thing is that they're waiting by the road because Simon's like, my friends know I'm here. They're going to come back and get me.
Yeah.
They're going to come back and get me. And so that's how he talks them into staying right there is by saying, oh, Kit's going to come get me. Well,
now they realize there's no hope of help coming. So the three of them, they get up and they leave. They end up back at the rodeo grounds for some reason, where I don't know why you would go back to the rodeo grounds and just keep walking down the road.
By the road.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing. They talk about the road before.
We talk about something not making. This is one that doesn't make sense. Like if you already escaped the grounds, just keep going down the road. Don't go back to the rodeo.
And you just saw a bunch of cowboys leaving, going back towards
that way.
The rodeo.
Yeah, like now you're going. So you're basically following the people trying to kill you back to their stronghold. Like that makes zero sense.
No sense.
They end up back at the rodeo grounds where Trish steals a horse, gives it to Roisin and Simon, tell them, hey, ride out of here. I'm going to get another horse and I'll follow you. Yep. I'll catch up to you guys. Simon still like, no, we got to stick together.
Because now he's trying to I don't know, redeem himself.
I guess, but it comes and goes. His whims are just constantly changing. He tells Trish, it's like, to go that they'll go get the horse. We'll wait for you here. Roisin is not okay with this at all. She's like, oh, fuck that. But she reluctantly goes along with the idea anyway. So Trish goes over to another horse. And as she's untying it, we see Carney and another cowboy hopping the fence behind Trish, coming up to get her. Trish spots them and she yells out for the other two to run. And she takes off running in a different direction. So Roisin mounts the horse. Simon's like, no, wait. But she's had enough of Simon's bullshit, rightfully so. And she kicks him in the chest, knock him down, and she takes off on the horse.
Even the rodeo queen is tougher than
The
Simon.
110-pound beauty queen. Meanwhile, like I said, Trish is running back to... She's trying to run back to the tunnel entrance that they came out of that led back to the cabin. But right as she gets to the entrance, Hackett emerges from the tunnel, punches her in the face, knocking her out cold. Hackett looks up and sees Roisin riding away. So he just gives a little Lone Ranger whistle to fucking Silver. And the fucking horse comes to a dead stop, which sends Roisin flying over, head first over the head of the horse, like you would on a bicycle. And she hits the ground face first with a sickening bone-snapping sound.
Good sound effects.
Yeah, and the camera zooms out on her face, and we see that she's dead, bleeding from the eyes too.
CGI eye blood.
So we can see again that she broke her neck in the fall.
And of course Simon's like, ah, and he can't believe he
because he lost his date.
Can't believe. I know now.
No date for him now.
He deserved nothing.
No, he didn't. Simon again, who's just standing there watching all this. He watches the whole thing. Finally, decides to take off running. And he's being chased by Carney, Brando, and a third cowboy.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Simon reaches this high cliff. Now he's on the woods. I don't know what it's, but he's this high cliff area. It's weird terrain here. But he's basically pinned in by the cowboys. So he decides to take his chances. He leaps off the cliff.
He's like, you motherfuckers, or screw you, or something.
He's trying to act all tough now.
He's like, I'm gonna jump. Throws himself off of a cliff.
He hits the steep ground below and rolls and tumbles all the way down this large hill. Carney's like, oh, he's dead, and they just walk away.
Yeah,
they don't even.
He's dead. I mean, it's not that high of a...
It's really not.
He obviously doesn't... We're going to find out that he's maybe okay.
Yeah.
But seriously, I mean, they're like, he's dead. Yeah. That's just
we
laziness.
immediately find out he's away because as soon as they walk
Yeah.
away, Simon gets up and stumbles away. So there's no suspense. Like, maybe he's dead.
How did he not break an ankle or like break
Yeah.
anything? What? Either
Yeah,
way, he's
I
fine.
mean, honestly,
I shouldn't question this. Enos got his arm cut off.
Yeah, that didn't happen to
and
Enos.
Yeah.
I mean, technically,
Yeah. You could
Roisin being thrown from a horse probably. I mean, yeah, it would hurt, and I guess if you land just perfect, you could break a neck. But he would probably take more damage from that fall than she would falling off the horse.
I don't know, Christopher Reeve. Remember we talked about
We did.
Reeve?
We did talk about Christopher Reeve last week. Oh Jesus! I've fallen off a horse a few times, and I've
Full
never had
circle.
that. I messed up my knee, but that was about it. Anyway, yeah, full
Anyway,
circle.
Simon.
He gets up, he stumbles away. He's whatever. Fuck
But he's
him.
totally distraught.
Yes, we go back to Trish. She's on the ground, surrounded by the cowboys. Then right back to Simon, who has now found Roisin's hat that somehow still has a tiara attached to it magically. And so he drops to his knees and he starts mourning her and crying like, "No, Roisin, you were gonna give me my babies. You're blah blah blah." Like, fuck you, Simon.
All of his new friends.
yeah.
They're either taken or dead.
While he's crying and feeling sorry for himself, we see someone walk up into view behind him. Simon turns around and who does he see but fucking Enos? It's Enos. Simon's like, "What happened to?" He's like, "What happened to your arm, man?" And Enos simply says, "Which one?"
Is he shooting up horse steroids too? I mean, was that clown like, "Here you go, buddy. You need some of these"? Because where's the clown now?
Yeah, the rodeo clown's gone again.
Enos's face looks great. I mean, he got a little sponge bath. He looks.
He's
right
all
as
cleaned
rain.
up. He's right.
He
Yeah,
looks right as rain.
He's ready for now in town.
Yep.
We go back to Trish.
And they hug.
They
it's
do
so
hug.
funny because Simon like hugs him because he's so happy, and Enos is kind of like, ugh,
Yeah,
because he's like, ugh.
He's missing his severed arm and a pitchfork through the
He's
ribs.
only bleeding internally.
Yeah.
It's all right. Yeah.
We cut back to Trish. She was getting a massive beat down by the Cowboys in the rodeo arena. Enos and Simon go back there, and they come up with the idea of electrifying the fence around the arena, and Enos basically tells Simon what to do and how to do it.
I mean, Simon really wants to save Trish, but he really lacks smarts and courage and survival instincts and pretty much anything that's needed at this point.
Yeah. He really is just more of what's the word? Liability than anything else. Pussy. Yeah, well, that is one. Yeah, he's more of a liability at this point. Anyway, Simon goes around attaching like jumper cables. There's like these portable generators scattered around the area, so they attach jumper cables to the generator to the chain link fence.
How is this gonna work?
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm not really sure the logistics of this, but I don't.
Whatever. It was a plan.
It was a plan.
Something, yeah.
But in order to get to the last side charge, they have to split up because the other one's like on the other side. So Pussy Simon comes back, and he returns, and he's like, "I don't want to be left alone.
You're gonna leave me alone?"
Yeah.
Oh.
So Enos gives him like this great motivational speech to pep Simon up, and then he heads off.
There's such a long, heartfelt talk at this part about like arms. He's like, "Do you want to know about my arm?" This is the second time where he's like, "Do you want to know how I lost my arm?"
Simon's like, "Yeah.
I was never born with it.
I was born without it.
It's not what you come into this life with. It's what you something I don't know.
It's like what you make of it or what you do with it.
Leave with it. Or I don't,
it's a great speech. It's like, Enos is just crushing it too. It's like,
but they're standing like, I don't know, a few hundred yards away
If
from
that-
like
I know.
all these killer cowboys.
They're not even really hiding. They're just kind of like kneeing down behind this rodeo fence, but it's not like a solid fence. Like it's just metal railings. Like you could clearly see right through it, and they're like just like maybe like 50 yards away is like this group of cowboys putting a beat down on Trish, and they're just like chilling. They're clearly visible if you just looked over.
You can do it, son. You can do it.
Yeah, at this point he starts calling Simon son and kiddo the whole time, mirroring out. So he gives him this motivational speech, and then Enos he heads off to take care of business. Simon wakes his way over to like the last generator, hooks up the jumper cables, while Enos is waiting at the other one so they can turn them on in unison or something like that. Trish is now tied up to a hitching rail. That's what it's rail,
hitching
not a
rail.
post. Jesus, I can't believe I couldn't think
But
of
it's that
rail.
same area where
Same
the other
area,
chick
yeah.
was.
It's the main rodeo arena. And we see Brando again approaching her with his red hot branding iron. But for some reason, this time he walks past her and he joins the others out in the bigger arena.
They like call to him or something. Like he's about to get Trish, and then they're like,
Do they
"Hey,
call him?
blah, blah, blah,
okay,
blah, blah." Yeah.
there you go. Enos turns on his generator using his foot, which electrifies most of the arena fence.
So that's perfect. All of them are in the middle of the arena, which I think is the plan.
Yes.
Even though it makes no sense, but that's the plan.
That's
right?
the plan to
Right.
trap him in there.
So everything's
going to plan so far.
going to plan.
But once
Except-
again, Simon hesitates to do his one fucking job.
Damn it, Simon.
And doesn't turn on his generator. Simon just standing there watching the group of cowboys in the main arena who are gathered around like two metal oil drums. Hackett takes the lids off them, knocks them both over, and spilling out from each drum are Kit and Lillian.
Oh, they're still alive.
So Prodder and Noose drag Trish in to join Lillian and Kit.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that Simon is not doing his job, Enos was like, fuck, realizes that he has come up with a different plan now. And we hear Enos kind of saying to himself, okay, good luck, kid. And then he runs off to go do his other plan or whatever it is he's going to do. And a few seconds later, we hear Enos on the PA system, and he's starting to taunt Hackett and calling the Cowboys dickless pieces of shit. Fuck you guys, blah, come get me, blah, blah. He's just taunting these guys. Hackett sends Carney after Enos, who says over the PA, "You got this, kid. You got this, son."
You got
Trying to give him
this.
that one last motivation to
more.
get Simon to do something other than stand there with a thumb up his ass.
He's doing nothing.
Yeah.
He's just standing there doing nothing.
Yeah.
Which I think part of it is that, like, again, the girls, he didn't know that Kit and Lillian were alive. So, like, when they dump the barrels over and they come out, he's like, oh, but you turning on a generator on an outside perimeter is not going to shock a bunch of people standing in the middle.
No, it's not.
Just turn it on.
Turn it on, exactly.
What is wrong with you, son?
So Carney starts breaking his way
kid.
into the sound/PA booth.
Yep.
Simon's still standing there with his thumb up his ass. Enos is still trying to nudge Simon into action over the PA. He's like, come on, son, do it. Get moving. Do it. Come on, you got this.
Final words are just like, you can do it.
And that's when we hear over the PA system Carney break into the booth.
Oh my god.
And we hear Enos is getting the shit beaten out of him. He just get beaten to death by Carney over the PA system. Simon just stands there crying like he always just now he's crying. Carney comes back and joins the other cowboys who are surrounding the women.
He's covered in blood too, Carney
Yes.
now.
Finally, Simon rushes into action. He runs into the arena and over. He doesn't turn on the generator like he's supposed to. He runs into the arena and overtakes these large double gated, these double gates. Hackett and the Cowboys see him, and Carter says, "Oh, he's mine." And he starts chasing after Simon, who has now flung open the gates and then hides behind the gate as a stampede of bulls come rushing out through the open gates.
CGI bulls
Which
save the day.
Everyone causes everyone to run from the lightly trotting cattle.
But at least that worked.
It did work, but I just
least
find
it
it funny. When they first come out of the area, they're almost in the same. They're running boom, boom, boom. But then when we see the shot of Simon hiding behind the gate, and in the background we see the cowboys running away and the cattle behind them, they're not in a full charge. They're just, they're kind of lightly jogging cattle, and the cowboys ah!
Yeah, it didn't really add up right
yeah,
there.
the intensity kind of dropped. It was oh.
They also show this. They also show the scene of the. They kind of cut back to the scene of the booth, and they kind of show Enos back. Enos is dead now, right?
Yeah.
He got beat up pretty bad. So they show this trophy that was Hackett's from 1981, rodeo masters.
Yes.
And so you get the idea that Carney beat Enos with this trophy.
With the trophy, yeah. Because you first see that trophy at the very beginning when Hackett is announcing the radio. Because you see that trophy up there.
They did some things like that throughout the movie. I thought that were really good, where they just kind of tied something small in numerous times.
Yes.
Back and forth. Yeah. That was good.
So Carney finds Simon and charges him, and Simon takes off running. Lillian makes it to the bleachers and crawls underneath to get away from Hackett, who tries to grab her, but he can't. So Hackett's like, oh, fuck it. I'll just walk around to the side of the bleachers where I can just walk underneath them easily. I don't have to try to get you through them. I'll just walk underneath.
Just totally get underneath, yeah.
So he does that, and he attacks her. They're struggling under the bleachers. Hackett punches Lillian in the face after mounting her and starts to choke her.
But I'm surprised it's not stronger because we saw him juice up.
Oh yeah, they're all roided up at this point.
So
yeah.
like, why? I don't know. I mean, she's just. I mean, all those years living on the prairie. I guess she's just
She's rugged. She's tough. She's a tough woman.
You know.
So he's choking her, but luckily for Lillian, she finds her hairbrush, which. Just like Lillian style, has a hidden dagger in the handle. She pulls off like the bristle part of the brush, and there's like a hidden dagger in this thing, and she stabs Hackett in the neck with it, killing him. So,
I love her.
She's a little spitfire.
I'd want to go back for that brush too. No wonder she sent Simon after that damn brush. She's like, you can't lose this. Like, I got it.
Now it makes sense.
I got it at the gun show last month, and I can't.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So we cut to Kit running around looking for a way out, but keeps running into like dead ends. Mm-hmm. Brando shows up armed with his branding iron. He attacks her. She's able to dodge and avoid his attacks for a while, and then like weaving underneath some like fencing. Doing
it's like a little cat and mouse kind of a thing where he's like kind of teasing her and like kind of getting her, and she's weaving herself underneath.
He's definitely toying with her near the end of this.
It's pretty good. I thought it was a pretty good scene. It brought up the suspense.
It definitely is. Kit grabs a horseshoe and kind of holds him like, I got a horseshoe.
She's going to get him with it. Like punch him. Like she goes into kind of like a defensive stance.
Yes, but Brown just punches her in the face, knocking. He's like, fuck you. Hits her, knocks her to the ground. He starts dragging her away, but Kit sits up, stabs Brando not in one, but both eyes with the horseshoe, which is cool in theory, but horseshoes are just blunt. Like, I don't know if it would really happen. Yeah.
You'd have to be pretty close. I mean, you could really damage somebody's soft eye holes.
Yes.
With
soft eye holes.
I mean, it's made of iron, but you'd have to have she goes from like a laying down position.
She's basically doing a stomach crawl, like a sit up.
She's just like, bam. And
the amount of force and torque you'd have to have in that lunge. I don't know if it's possible. But it looks cool. It looks
awesome.
It looks great. So she stabs him through both eyes with the horseshoe. Brando falls to the ground screaming in pain. Kit picks up his branding iron, jams it down on Brando's head. The red hot iron sears through Brando's cowboy hat, and then like you see it go through his hat and then just melts through his skull. So like it sears all the way through his skull. And you see blood like pop up out of it. It's pretty sweet looking.
That's pretty good.
Lillian shows up. The two of them hug it out. Lillian then gives Kit a pep talk to keep her moving and get her, because she's kind of like in shock that she just murdered somebody.
Yeah. She's like, you do your job. You finish your job.
You finish your
You're
job.
a senior citizen daytime tripper.
She's talking to her like she's a fucking like Delta Force thing. It's all about you finish the mission. You're trained for this. She's a fucking senior citizen
you get us
liaison
home.
Type thing.
You finish this job. And Kit's like, okay. Which just goes to show younger generation, we need the older generation to mentor us. They've been through some shit. Like, who would know? It's all about learning.
So the two of them, they head off somewhere.
They do.
We cut to Trish, who's being chased by Noose and Prodder. Mm-hmm. Trish leaps up into like a tall stack of hay barrels. She's kicking Noose down as he tries to grab her. Noose lands on a pile of hay. And then suddenly we see one of those like giant 2-person lumberjack saws like come down on his stomach.
Oh my God.
And we see Kit and Lillian on each side of the saw. Like they just show up like superheroes out of nowhere.
This is so intense.
They look at each other in the eye, they give each other a nod, and they just start sawing Noose in half.
He's just laying there because he's like, what is happening? And they're just like, we're doing this, and they just start sawing him in half.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of CGI.
No.
It's a lot of practical effects.
Like I said, there's not a lot of CGI in
good.
this. It's the practical effects are solid, and that's one thing about horror movies.
Way to go, ladies. This is an intense scene with the ladies.
So Prodder is still trying to zap Trish, but he can't fully reach her. He's hearing Noose scream behind him, so Prodder stops going after Trish and turns his attention to the others. But this gives Trish a moment to find the 2 haystack chucking hooks, which are basically just meat hooks. Like
It's just like hook.
Yeah, they're
it's
meat
just
hooks,
like
basically.
a hay hook. Yeah.
And she swings the hooks down at Prodder, each hook jabbing or digging into each side of Prodder's neck. So Lillian and Kit are continuing to saw Noose in half while Trish is on top of these haystacks, pulling up on the hooks, which are dug into Prodder's neck. Mm-hmm. So both Noose and Prodder, they die. They're dead.
Well, it's so great, too, the sound effects, because you see, like, she's digging the hay hooks into either side of his neck, and there's all kinds, so much mouth blood. He's just like, blah, 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 blah. But again, not CGI blood. And at this, whenever they cut to Trish hooking him, in the background you can hear the of the two girls, like of the two ladies, like sawing this guy in half. So it's like, it's so well done. Like they just keep going from one to the other and one to the other. Man, Lillian has to do silver sneakers or something. Like, she's got some endurance, like some serious cardio endurance. My God.
So once the two cowboys dead, the woman, they all catch their breath. They hug. They're like, oh, yay, we did it.
That was some shit, ladies.
Yeah. We cut to Simon being chased by Carney. They end up in like this large metal shed or warehouse-like structure.
Right.
Simon decides this is the time for his balls to drop. So he squares up with Carney like he's going to go fisticuffs with this guy.
Well, and also Carney, when he walks in the door, Carney knocks this gigantic metal cabinet to block the door.
Yes.
But the door opens out.
Well, I mean, it opens out, but it would still make it hard. You couldn't run right through the door. You have to either crawl underneath or try to hop over this thing.
Just saying, it was another reason to this guy to show off how strong he is.
Simon's throwing some punches, which Carney just easily dodged without even really trying. And then Carney just beats the shit out of Simon. Just beats him down.
Oh, he gets rocked.
It's kind of satisfying, actually.
I know. You kind of deserve that, sir.
Yes. Simon ends up locking himself inside this fenced-in area that's in there.
And then he's like, yeah, fuck you, man.
Yeah. It's like the bratty little kid thing. It's like that little obnoxious brat kid you all know who's like, talks all that shit when you know, like, you can't get him, but face to face, you'd be like, oh God, don't touch me, but you can't get me now, so fuck you. Carney just like, all right, whatever. He walks away. We see him pull out a syringe of his own and injects himself with horse steroids, standing right in front of Simon, like looking him in the eye, like, yeah, you're fucked now, kid. He's like, well, I'm doing this right in front of you, so you see what's coming. And so he does his hulking out business, and he just rips the fence apart. Literally, like, he bare hands, he like rips this fence apart and down. It just goes falling down. Simon's like, oh shit. And he runs away and hides.
Well, the thing is that like he spends all this time like punching and like pushing over the fence that he's like so busy standing there hulking out that Simon runs away.
Yeah.
So he's like, it's like he's really hulky but not very fast now. Yeah. Like
and now we get more like cat and mouse shit of Simon hiding, and Simon finds a pair of hedge clippers which he uses to cut Carney's Achilles tendon with, and then he runs away again. Yeah. But still roided out, Carney is able to hobble out. His Achilles tendon is snapped in half, and he's still like, fuck it, I'm going to hobble after Simon.
No. Yep.
Again, Simon hides. Carney is now armed with a pitchfork again. He's hunting Simon down. Simon tricks Carney into thinking that he escaped like this hole in the wall, like this little grate or like air duct or something like that.
That's pretty good.
So Carney gets on the ground. He starts to wiggle his way through this tiny little hole. Simon pops up from behind him with his own pitchfork and stabs Carney through, impales him through the back with his pitchfork.
Right.
Carney screams, not so much in pain, I think, but more in anger.
More anger.
Yes. Because he's using his roid rage, and he just pulls the pitchfork out of his back like it's nothing, and looking Simon in the eyes like, you are fucked now, kid.
I mean, come on, if Enos didn't die from being stabbed, like this roided out Hulkster, like horseman is not gonna die from this. But good choice. I mean, good. You know.
So they're scrambling around. They end up near a weight bench. Simon grabs this large weight, hits Carney over the head with it, but like the fucking Terminator, Carney just keeps on coming.
Yeah, he's like, can't you just die? Like, he makes this funny. That is kind of funny. There aren't a lot of campy lines in this movie. No. Like, it's pretty serious. But yeah, this is pretty funny because he's like, man, can you just die? Like, come on. Like, Did you notice how much the weight was? Like how
Not
heavy
the
it was?
first, the second one he used, I think, was a 25 pounder.
It's only 25 pounds. And I don't want to be like, 25 pounds is 25 pounds. But he lifts this 25-pound weight like it's a human being. Like he's just like,
Well, it is Simon. We established he is not a strong man.
That's true.
Simon hits him again with it, and this time, but it's like this upward swing. And so the momentum of his swing causes Simon to fall over too. Because again, he's
25 pounds.
He's very, very weak man.
Yeah.
Carney's still standing. He's bleeding a lot. He's fucking bleeding everywhere, but he's still standing. Carney stands over Simon, who's laying down on the ground, but the damage finally takes takes his toll and overcomes the roid rage, I guess. Finally. And Carney drops to his knees. Simon grabs another weight, bashes Carney with it one more time. Carney drops to the floor motionless. This is the one smart thing Simon does in this entire movie.
Exactly.
He doesn't want to take any chances, so he takes the weight and smashes open Carney's skull with it, killing Carney.
He leans over Carney, though, to see if he's breathing. And I'm like, this is a dumb move. This is a dumb move.
Yes, it's the dumbest move.
But nothing, because normally in a horror movie, like, that's the point where, like, the killer then, like, grabs him. But that didn't happen.
No.
But he's like, I'm going to stand up and double tap this.
Yeah,
and he, like,
double tap.
does it.
Great use of
double
double tap.
I know. That's what I thought. I was like, all right, Simon, you've at least watched Zombieland.
Yeah, he double tap.
I have to give that to you. You did a good job.
So, yeah, Carney's dead. Simon rejoins Kit, Lily, and Trish in the rodeo arena.
Although they all act like they're all kind of hanging out in the middle of the arena, and they see him, and they're like, oh yeah, you were here too.
Yeah,
they all kind of forget about him. Like,
wow, you actually survived? Oh.
He's very forgettable,
yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
But I also thought it was weird that those three women were just... Because last we see them, they're in like the barn with the hay area. And they're like, well, what are we doing? Well, let's just go stand out in the middle of the rodeo arena and just hang out.
Why the hell didn't they leave?
Yeah, like leave, or not, if not leave, if you're looking for Simon, or maybe, but like, why not like be a little more hidden, a little more secure? They're just staying out in the middle of the fucking open, like right in the middle. They don't know how many other cowboys are out there. They're just like hanging out in the, the most open, exposed area possible.
That makes sense.
So they're all smiles at first seeing Simon coming, like, oh my God, he's alive. Holy shit. But then we see their facial expressions change for the worst. Trish points behind Simon, who turns around to see Dark Cowboy walking up behind them, armed with his claw whip.
Where's he been this whole time?
Yeah,
I mean, shit was really going down with his brothers, it seemed, and he was not around.
Yeah, he's the enigma. He's like the mystery guy.
Yeah.
Dark Cowboy uses his whip to bind Simon's hands and not fingers, but he whips. I don't know how this is possible, because unless Simon was like holding his hands up together, like holding his hand, and then he uses the whip to like bind his wrist. Like, how would you do that? Like, again, he's a magical master of the whip. I was going to say he's a
master of the whip. He is a whip master.
But somehow he binds Simon around the wrist with his whip, then gives like a fling of the wrist, which sends Simon flying through the air. Simon hits the ground and bounces into the electric fence where he gets electrocuted.
That is some weak shit right there.
Yeah.
That was not a very good plan, I would have to say. Enos and that plan with the electrocution.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm glad that they didn't like actually make that something. Like, I'm glad that didn't happen.
Dark Cowboy does some more flashy whip snapping to intimidate the women. Simon, somehow still fucking alive after getting roasted, sits up and sees Enos's severed arm still holding the gopher killer on the other side of the fence. So he reaches through the electrified fence, by the way, to grab this arm. Dark Cowboy still toying with the women, snapping his whip around. Doesn't see Simon come right up behind him. Simon impales Dark Cowboy through the back with the gopher killer, killing Dark Cowboy.
Enos saves the day again.
Yes, thanks to Enos, really.
Thank you, Enos. One more time.
Even post-mortem, you saved us one last time. We cut to the next morning. All is quiet. We see our 4 survivors riding horseback, covered in blood, through the small town near the rodeo grounds, I guess. Yeah, it's like high noon. Cue the music as the camera cuts back and forth between all the dead bodies and their survivors, now in slow motion.
Yeah, it gets to show all of them.
The various town folk just stand there and stare at them as they ride through the town in slow motion.
The one guy has like a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
He's just like,
and I did notice, maybe you've noticed this too, on Kit's horse, attached to her saddle is the stuffed T-bone steak. So she got her steak. They went back and got that.
Taking this motherfucking steak.
Yeah. So, and they ride away.
So great.
And then we see the rodeo clown looking at them from high above, like some hilltop or something, as the survivors ride away into the sunset or the morning sun or whatever. Roll the credits. That is fucking Lasso.
That clown was so complicated. He was the
He
most
is so
complicated
complicated.
character.
What's
of
going
the whole-
on? Yeah.
Did he let them all go? Did he?
Yeah, it's like, is he like?
Is he gonna escape? I mean, what's gonna happen?
What's happening?
What happens to the clown?
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, he's the one weird guy. Why was he there at the first place? Why is he not killing anybody? Was he there against his will? Was he a family member with these guys and disagree with their tactics? Like, yeah, that rodeo clown is so like, what's going on with him?
Maybe because he chose the art of clowning
instead of rodeo.
Yes, they would not allow him to have the steroids. And so he felt
he was the
really,
black sheep of
yeah.
the rodeo.
Yeah,
he was like,
was
you're the clown.
non-steroidal.
You're a clown.
You're just a clown. I'm telling you, clowns are deeply hurt individuals, which is why I'm terrified. There's a psychosis behind all this, people.
All right, let's move on to favorite kills.
Don't act like you didn't love it. Favorite kill.
All right, the kills in this were pretty solid. Like, there's some good, entertaining kills in this one. So,
Agreed.
So, but Sarah, what take it away?
Okay, so last week, this is refreshing because last week the kills were not legitimate. They were not fun, really. But all of these were insanely brutal.
Yes.
I mean, even like I said, I've said this a couple times, like the balance between the CGI and the practical effects was so good. Okay, so it's really hard because when I saw Bird's death, that one really stood out to me just because it was ridiculous and ludicrous, but I thought it was really fun. It was really brutal. It showed kind of a brutal death to a senior citizen. Sorry, seniors. But he just picks her up and just swings her over his head. And at that time, you don't know that they're all like roided out. So it seems crazy. That affected me. However, I did not in a million years expect Kit and Lillian to tag team lumberjack style and cut a dude open. That has to be my favorite kill because it was so brutal. They got their like revenge. It was almost like Lillian was mentoring Kit in the art of self-defense and lumberjacking. And they cut this. I mean, everything was good. The effect was good. It was fun and funny. It was gruesome. They got it down all the way to the sound effects. So favorite kill, what was his name? Lasso?
That was Noose.
Noose. See, Noose killed Bird. Mm-hmm. So Noose is my favorite
All
kill.
right. I'm there with you. Like, I loved Birds too. Like, that was so crazy to see him swing her overhead. You know,
Just kind of like,
it's like an old song, like, you know,
okay.
I was like, take your shirt off, swing it around your head like a helicopter type thing to be playing. But it's great. But you know, we've seen it before in the Jason movies, in Friday the 13th. But it's great. I think my favorite kill was Brando. The horseshoe through the eye, and then just the effect was so good. Like the brand, like they're like melting through his skull. Even though it was pretty quick, you don't see a whole lot, but it looked so good. And then you see like the blood kind of like popping out, like, you know, like of his. It was really, and then like they said, the horseshoe through the eye first. So mine's Brando actually this week.
I think Kit deserves a raise. I mean, if she gets back to senior bus, she gets a raise.
She gets a raise
for that one.
Yeah, and Lillian should probably have her monthly dues or like wave or something.
She gets comp. She gets comp for this trip.
Yeah, you're free. You're not going to pay for this one. Here's a free tote bag. All right, let's move on to this week's odds and ends.
Not only did they watch these films, they researched them too. Ugh, what is wrong with these guys?
All right, odds and ends go really, really fast this week because there's nothing on this movie. Ratings, we do have that. IMDb gives it a 4.6 out of 10. I thought it'd be a little higher, but not, I guess, bad for the movies we find on here. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Rotten Tomatoes, on the other hand, 71% on the thermometer, but it has no audience score yet. That blew my mind. Normally it's the other way around. It'll be no thermometer score, but a high audience score. But for this movie to get that high on the critics official reviewer thermometer, blew me away.
Crazy.
Yeah,
right?
that's that's up there with some of the highest we've ever seen on this show. And Amazon gives it a 4.2 out of 5. So Amazon was pretty high. Plot keywords, currently there are none, which saddened me. Trivia, also there is none I could find. And so unfortunately, it also means there's no budget game this week again.
I didn't think that there would be, only because I didn't normally I see some trivia and things. It didn't look like there was much out. This movie was released, when did you say? April of 2008? November of 2018. So
just a few months ago.
So not very long ago. So I'd be interested to see what happens with it and what people have to say about it, because all right, let's move on to 5-star reviews.
Is this your guilty pleasure? 5-star reviews.
All right, this can go real quick too, because there's 29 total reviews on Amazon. 69% of them are 5 stars, so that's insane.
Wow.
With 14% being 1 star. Problem is, none of them are worth reading. They were all just boring and bland. It's a good movie, I liked it. Oh, it's a bad movie, I didn't like it. There's nothing really fun or we like to read fun ones. I like to find. However, the only one I found kind of interesting at all was actually a 4-star review off of IMDb.
Oh, worth it. Let's do it.
Which is entitled "A Mediocre Horror Movie That Hates Cowboys But Understands Nothing About Them." So basically, this guy goes on a rant. Is I guess some country hill cowboy who is offended that how cowboys are portrayed in this movie. I'm not going to read this whole thing. Oh fuck! You know what? It's the only review, so I'll read it. Fuck it. All right.
Yes.
So, and this is a 4 out of 10 star. Okay.
So he didn't hate it.
He didn't hate it. It's from ZGamer1. On the surface, this could be a decent horror movie. In this, killer cowboys hunting down people? ? It's silly enough that it could merit some entertainment. Unfortunately, it's just not a great or even decent horror film. The characters are thinly written and sometimes completely pointless. Did we really even need a senior tour group involved? The acting is mediocre. The dialogue is awful. The pacing is erratic. The movie is not very scary, and a lot of things happen at random with no rhyme or reason. Worst of all, too much of it feels like an excuse to showcase long, over-the-top torture scenes. Admittedly, some of the gore is effectively nasty, and it's not badly directed in terms of cinematic presentation. But after a while, you start to grow numb to the violence. One person's death means no more than the others when we have no investment in their safety and there's nothing else happening in the plot to justify its existence. This is where it gets weird. Even more obnoxiously, it's clear that this was made by people who hate cowboys and rural culture, but have never been to a rodeo, talked to a real cowboy ranch hand, or understand anything about them outside of cartoons.
This guy got triggered.
Yeah. I know I'm asking too much from a mindless action movie that wants to have it both ways by being an over-the-top parody and a serious horror movie, but it comes off as amateurish and at times like ignorant animal rights propaganda, which is crowbarred into the story for no particular reason because it never plays into the story after its original discussion. All we know from this film is that cowboys are murderous human and animal abusers that need to be slaughtered just because.
What?
So yeah, it's a big old pass, partner. That's like, what?
Okay,
that
my
one
guess...
made me question, like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Okay, my guess is that this guy put in the search engine movies about cowboys because he is one.
Yeah.
And this came up and he was like, ooh, a horror movie about cowboys. And then the cowboys ended up dying. And so he took personal he took it to heart, I
Yeah.
guess, a little bit.
I was like, I've never said you don't know anything about cowboys or ranches or what you've seen on
First off-
cartoons and blah blah
First
blah.
off,
Like,
they did not
what?
harm any animals. Even the horse that they killed, they did not harm any animals in this because I watched all of the credits,
Mm-hmm.
and in the credits they clearly state numerous times that like the Humane something Society,
and all that, yeah.
was like totally on set the whole time during this thing. You never see anything happen to any animals. Yes, of course cowboys died, but these could have just been like any other like muscle heads with Stetsons on. Who knows? Like,
That's the best of me.
I
I
know.
just like, I can't believe this guy got so pissed off. I was like, how dare you? Cowboys are. They're like,
He's
cowboys are people too, damn it. And blah,
he's
blah,
a
blah.
cowboy.
It's like,
He's
this
a cowboy, and
this guy got seriously butthurt off of a movie. That's like, he's like, I'm not trying to be too much. I'm like, it's not trying to be a serious act. It's like, no, it's just it's like, that's the only one worth reading now because it's like, holy shit, this guy's.
Maybe he doesn't
Fucking
want to
crazy.
get. Maybe he doesn't want to get cut in half by a lumberjack saw. Like
Maybe,
yeah.
but
Too close to
that's
home.
it. That's it. Far as reviews go. So let's wrap it up with our final thoughts. Sarah, take us away.
Well, I don't think that it's any kind of surprise, but so bad it's good. Like I said, last week's movie was so bad it's good. This was actually good. Like last time it was just fun talking about it. This movie actually had a great air of intensity to it. It did have a lot of gore, and I mean, it sounds like this last guy has never actually watched a horror movie because
Yeah.
everything that he was pissed off at, like that's what horror movies do.
Yeah, I agree.
They are kind of thin characters because they all are fodder and they die, and that's important. Like,
Yeah.
and even so, the fodder was not bad acting. It wasn't bad acting. Even the parts where they kind of like were talking or whatever, I felt like it did not drag on. It was very fast paced. You got a death within like the first 15 minutes or so of the movie. And then once it started, it didn't stop until the very end. And it's even so, there were crazy deaths and then there were more crazy deaths. So it just kept getting a little bit more surprising over and over again. It was great. Again, I've said this numerous times. CGI, practical effects, great balance between the two. So it wasn't just like I'm watching this movie where 2018 they are painting themselves with some paint and then like letting the computer do everything. It was really well done, I thought, in that place. And even with the clown, it's scary. It was kind of scary to me. I kind of got creeped out a few times, and Enos was very motivational. So I say, so bad it's good.
Yeah. In comparison to last week is so bad it's good, so bad it's scary. But this one was actually just more just qualifies on just
Good.
under just kind of just being good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not, good. It is everything's
Right.
subjective it is, but it's not. I'm still saying so bad it's good because that's the scale we use. But I was entertained the whole time. I was never bored.
No.
The kills were really entertaining and fun. Yeah, like you hate Simon. I mean, you just can't stand Simon.
But I think that's on purpose.
Yeah, I'm sure
I think
it was.
They do that on purpose, and yeah.
Unfortunately, the best character, Enos, he dies, but he goes out like a hero. He's awesome. The practical effects, the makeup effects are great. It's a unique. It's definitely unique. Like I've never seen one like
I've never seen anything
a horror
like
movie
this.
at the rodeo with killer cow.
No.
There might be something out there. I know there was like an old west like ghost town horror movie or something like in the 80s with I remember seeing the VHS box of like a skeleton and cowboy garb, but I never actually got to see it. But so far though, this is like the first like killer cowboy at a rodeo horror movie. Is it scary? Not really,
No,
but
but-
it's a fun ride.
Yeah.
Like most horror movies nowadays aren't really that scary anymore. They're just more about the entertainment, the fun value,
The shock.
the shock,
A little bit
the
of
kills.
shock,
Yeah, and that's what this is. It's just a good rootin' tootin' yeehaw
It's a
time.
rootin' tootin' good time.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I say grab your saddle up, and
Giddy up.
give this Bronco a nice ride, if you will.
Ride them Broncos.
Yeah, try to tame this Bronco. So I say check it out. So bad it's good.
Yeah.
All right, that's gonna do it for us. We'll wrap it up. Remember, next week we'll be back with another one, and then after that, I think we're starting up our tournament again. So get ready to start voting on Instagram if you want. It's always a fun time.
Get ready.
Sarah, I want to say thank you again for filling in for Aaron while you couldn't be here. It's been awesome to have you.
Thanks.
And all right, guys, listeners, we'll be back later. So in the meantime, watch more horror movies, and remember to always keep it tight.
Little doggies.
Yeah.